session now on strengthening domestic gas supply through the CGD network development. This really is the graveyard shift, so I think we'll try to keep it alive. I think that's the burden we carry. So let me just introduce the panel real quick. On my left is Sanjay. Sanjay represents MGL. He's a deputy MD there. One of the largest city gas companies in the country, represent 10-12% of the gas that gets consumed in the sector. Next to him, we have Abhilesh, who's the CEO and MD of AG&P. He's the new kid on the block, so I think this is a company that is raring to go, has ambitious plans, and we're going to talk about how he plans to fructify those. Venkatesh comes from a very illustrious group which is on a move. He calls his company a sprinter in the sector. So we're going to talk about how is he thinking about sprinting. And then we again have the old guard, the company that has shaped the gas sector in the country, GAIL, and then GAIL Gas, which is a downstream entity of GAIL. Then we have Sandeep, again, represents the new age CGD companies, and then we have Vimal, who brings in a very unique perspective with regard to OEM, which enables this sector as well. So we'll have a quite an engaging session because we have both the old guard and the new guard. I think one of the interesting things that we've been hearing for the last 2 days, and not unlike what we did last time in the India Energy Week, which was to talk about the potential for India, the economic growth, and I think that largely is a question that nobody talks about. India growth story, robust, no question asked, stability to that as well. The centrality of energy in that growth story, again, no questions asked there either, right? So that is well established. And then we talk about what might the sources be to enable that energy growth that we will need to drive the economy. And gas comes in high up, it's the cleanest hydrocarbon. It is growing at a more rapid pace than the other sources of energy, but not quite as much as we would like to for it to take its rightful share, the aspiration being 15%. I think there is a lot that is going on in the sector. And what we see now, and the panel before us spoke about gas markets as well. They spoke about that it's at an inflection point. The infra build is at an unprecedented pace. So we just wanted to explore the fact that what needs to happen, what has been happening in CGD, what needs to happen for it to grow at a rapid pace. I think as the gas market grows by 4%, CGD needs to grow by 10% for the overall mix to make sense. And that is what we're going to talk about, right? And Sanjay, you represent the oldest company in the sector, one of the oldest companies in the sector. I think from your vantage point, given that you have 6,000 kilometers of pipeline, you have 300 plus CNG stations, what are the opportunities and barriers that you see in driving growth here?
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. Good to be here, though it is a graveyard shift, as Vivek has said. We've been around for last 28, 29 years. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 30th year. Today, we are connected to almost 23 lakh households, 2.3 million households, and we have around 320 CNG stations. Fact remains that despite these numbers, and we represent in terms of PNG penetration, PNG percentage on a pan-India basis around 20%, and within Maharashtra state is around 55%. Still, our penetration in terms of number of households in our GA is around 55%. So we have a long way to go. We are fortunate that we have a density which is one of the highest in the country in terms of population density, especially in the first 2 GAs of MGL. So essentially, we still feel that it is it is a race for creation of infrastructure. Just to tell you, post-COVID, we have been able to add almost close to 35% of our, though we are in existence for last 27 years, but post-COVID, we have been able to managed to add close to 35% of our total PNG connections as of now. And we are doing it at a very rapid pace. So that is one aspect which we are taking it on a different level. Second is the fact that we have around 320 stations. Out of that, around 220 are from the OMC's, balance are from our own dealers and ourselves. We really feel that we need to scale it up, and now going forward, every year we're planning to add close to 50 stations. So essentially, Vivek, the message we are trying to give it is we still have to create infrastructure to meet the demand. That's my take. We have a lot of issues about creation of infrastructure, but we can touch upon it later. Thank you.
So you're saying the opportunity is tremendous. You're at 55% penetration, but the infra is the barrier that is keeping you from
Exactly.
realizing that. And we're going to talk about how we'll be enable that in the second round as well. So Abhilesh, you've come about with an aspiration, and your commitments require you to get to 12 million households, right? And you seem to be very bullish about being able to achieve and deliver to those commitments. How has that journey been? What are you facing in starting up, accelerating, gaining momentum?
So actually, when we started 2 years back, the GAs were newly awarded and there was no gas as such in the system. So first thing was to create infrastructure and visibility. So we created or almost like 300 CNG station in a 1 year's time, almost one station every day. And with that, at least the visibility is there. People have started understanding what natural gas is. Then there was a support with respect to policies from the respective state governments because they have never seen gas, so there was no policy support also. But in last 2 years, almost every state, 5 states which we are working, we have a dig and restore policy, which has started giving the fruits to us. We have almost completed 900 kilometer of steel pipelines in 2 years and 5,000 kilometer of MDB pipeline. With that, base infrastructure is ready now, and now our focus goes to marketing. So that will be the challenge of marketing. But as such, with respect to support from the policymakers, we have got significant support from the policymakers.
Great, that is fantastic story to hear about. MGL took that time to make 320, and you've done that in a year. So I think it's a fantastic pace. Now, Venkatesh, let me come to you. We talk about the fantastic inflection point CGD is at right now. It's projected to grow at 10%, double every 5-7 years, right? Is 10% growth adequate for Megha? So I think you're a group that likes to grow faster, right? And do you believe in this pace of growth as well?
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. Yeah, I really believe in that because we, as a Megha, our core strength is infrastructure. So, as Abhilesh was talking about, the infrastructure is the critical part of this business, and we, being our inherent strength, I believe that 10% can be easily achieved with creation of infrastructure because as a backward Megha inherently can take care of the creation of infrastructure.
Got it. So I think infrastructure is a dominant theme, and I think we'll talk about how to enable that because there are roadblocks to getting that going as well. And Gautam, could you talk about your point of view as well, right? So you, and especially personally as well, you've spent time in the parent, you've grown in the system of by selling gas to multiple entities and now GAIL Gas. So what's your view as you look at it now?
Actually, today I will speak on behalf of GAIL also because GAIL is one of the pioneer in this particular field. And as far as GAIL and his joint venture companies, we are having around 68 geographical areas with us. And if you see that out of 1.2 crore of domestic connections presently India is having, we are around 78 lakhs is with GAIL and GAIL JV groups. So government is planning by 2030-32, we should reach around 12.5 crores domestic connections.
Wow.
Presently, we are around 65% of what domestic connections India is having. So you can see that how much load we have to take. Probably more than 50% has to be with GAIL and its GAIL JVs, including our MGL and IGL and all. So it is a huge task, and being a public sector, we have to support our government in this particular field also. So our major focus is the PNG connections, and as far as CNG stations are also, presently we are around more than 4,500 CNG stations as a whole, and that also because government's target is reaching around 17,000 CNG stations by 2032. So you can see that how much infrastructure investments is required from GAIL and its JVs, and we are geared it up, and my management is well in this particular form. So probably we'll push these things so that that chicken and egg concept is not us with particularly this. So first we should have our infrastructure ready so that at least that 15% goal of primary energy mix. First we should have our infrastructure ready, then only we can achieve that. So it is towards that goal we are planning.
So I think you spoke about the fact that you've done a lot to build that infrastructure, across the various entities. So that's been the enabling factor that has propelled the growth in the last few years as well. Sandeep, I'm very curious to see, Abhilesh spoke about the ambitious plans and the ambitious delivery as well, right? So the aspirations getting met. Venkatesh spoke about that. You come from the same generation of CGD players, having done this in the last few years. Do you want to talk about how this journey or trajectory has been, what has started to change? Because the aspiration for you, as as Abhilesh mentioned, is as high. So how has it been? How is the journey? What has the trajectory been like in terms of expansion, in terms of growth?
It has been an excellent journey for last 4 or 5 years, and I think it started somewhere in 2018-19, and we built our 7 geographical locations in 5 states.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me? So, okay. So it has been an excellent journey for last 5 years, and we started our operation in 7 GA since then, and we have made considerable progress in terms of creating an infrastructure. Almost done 5,000 kilometers of pipelines, MDP plus steel, and we set up more than 100 CNG stations in our geographies. We have set up one LCNG station also where pipeline connectivity was not available, and we further went ahead and laid almost 180 kilometer long pipeline to feed Bhopal city. So those were the highlights, when we see behind. And we touched around last year 300,000 SCMD sale and made a growth of around 45 to 50% till now for the current year. And we see that in next 3 years we are going to touch the number of 1 MMSCMD for our GA, and that will be excellent thing to happen. What change we see now, we have done mostly our steel network in our GAs, and now it is time to connect the customers. The execution phase is over in some of the GAs, and we need to focus more on marketing, last mile connectivity, and O&M function, where we can supply gas to the customer flawlessly. So I think this is the biggest change we are feeling, and we are becoming more and more customer focused. We have started our own customer service center, Neuron, also, which gives service to the customer 24/7. And this is a cloud-based system, and it has helped us to create a lot of new customer base in our GA locations, and helping us to build ecosystem which is favorable to adopt gas as one of the fuel.
So I think it was kind of very reflective of what we spoke about, the fact that the steel has to get laid, the infrastructure, the ecosystem has to come together, and that's when you start to grow the customer base as well. So I think that being a recurring theme. Vimal, you obviously come from an OEM background, supplying to this industry. This enthusiasm for you should be dollars in the bank, right? Because you benefit from this enthusiasm, you benefit from this growth. Do you share the enthusiasm?
Well, Vivek, thank you for this question. I am a very, very strong believer in the growth story of India, personally. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. And after the ninth, 10th round brought to CGD industry, um, the $25 billion that we're talking about investment, I think this is the time for making that growth story within the CGD. I'm talking about CGDs, of course, they would be spending money, but making India a manufacturing base so that they serve the CGD industry from within the country. It's a great opportunity for everybody around the world to come and invest here. There are very few cases where the potential of the market for a salesman, the potential of the market is written on a government website in black and white. It's as easy as that. Okay, fine. There are questions around MWP, whether whether it will happen. To me, that question is when is going to happen. It's not a question of whether it will happen. We are the most populous country in the world today, and everybody needs to eat. So, coming back to that point, I have spent about half of my career, which is 15 years, total career 30 years, half of it was on the molecule side, and then on the equipment side and equipment manufacturing side. I see for the globe today an opportunity to manufacture so that imports can be stopped and manufacture sufficiently and competitively, make it a base for the globe. Uh, we have done this we have made a small start. I represent an Italian joint venture in India. It took us time to convince them, to tell them, and I'm telling you, this discussion was over a year to convince them that, okay, MWP numbers are going to be possible. India has, if you go demographically, 30 crore households, and there are a lot of numbers on the website too. What it also took is time, and I have to still prove to them, is that this is a money where equipment manufacturers, this is a market where equipment manufacturers can make money as well, right? Manufacture, low cost, it's a cost, everyone here, we know that it's a cost sensitive market, and there's nothing wrong in that. What I want to see, if you ask me, is that procurement from within India, the Make in India story should go along with the growth story. It should not happen that, okay, it's very, very easy. Even for Western companies, global companies too, if you choose between India and China, okay, China is probably the first choice. But now I see companies making a choice in India, which is also the reason why this belief in the India growth story is building. I'm happy about that. I'm sure everybody here would be happy with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Vimal. And I think so you do share the enthusiasm. You've been able to convince people outside about the potential as well. And you made them commit the money to come into India.
Exactly.
Now what you're saying is it's about creating an enabling policy ecosystem so that we can manufacture for India to enable that growth and also make for the world as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, thanks for sharing that. I think we spoke about 2-3 things in the first set of discussion that we had as all of you shared your opening remarks. Infra build, very critical. Varied players are in various stages of development and doing well at that. I think few of you alluded to pricing as well, and we're going to perhaps cover that. I think one of the very important factors in the CGD sector which has enabled the growth has been CNG. Accounts for more than 50% right now. That story again, there's a belief in it. People are saying EVs will disrupt some part, but generally that should grow. And that should grow at a faster clip than the CGD growth itself. I think what gets often ignored, which is the sticky part of the demand, but also difficult to convince and convert, is a domestic PNG, right? So it's kind of 15-20% of the overall, perhaps falling down in the times to come as CNG takes over that growth, right? So I think, Sanjay, I just want to come to you. What is this unfulfilled potential, and how do we actually fulfill that? What will it take to get that going?
See, Vivek, as I said earlier, we are in the market where we have one of the highest population density, and I feel that creation of infrastructure again is a matter of that is the top priority. Unfortunately, in a city like Bombay or Thane, the working season is only from say they start giving the permission for laying the pipelines somewhere in the month of September, and we have to close it down by October. So the season for our creation of infrastructure is a constraint. So we have to do all the activities and finish off before the season ends. Second is again compared to the other states like Karnataka, which has just announced 1 rupee permission charges, or Tamil Nadu. Unfortunately, in Maharashtra, the RI charges are ranging from close to 5,000 rupees to, 21,000 rupees. Just to give you an example, recently Bombay Municipal Corporation announced that they are going to concretize 600 kilometers of road. And I went to BMC saying that, look, we will lay the line whether we need it or not right now below the concrete structure. And, there is no, you don't have to do anything after that. We will not come to you for any digging during the defect liability period. And they are still asking for a restoration charges where there is none, 6,700 rupees. So, it is like it's a work in progress, trying to convince the government, policymakers, BMC and statutory bodies like that. So that is one part which we need to take care. Second is the fact that the product is good. We have a safe, economic, convenient product of PNG. So despite that, selling it at times is a difficult thing, but we are addressing that part from the consumer behavior point of view by enabling things like, very easy to registration, online registration, incentives, and also guaranteed installation of the connection at their home. And still we feel that lot needs to be done on that part. So we are working on a full steam as far as PNG is concerned. And believe me, sitting at in MGL, we close to 50, though our turnover from PNG is maybe 15%, but half of our energy goes into PNG. So that is the challenge we have taken, and hopefully we should get there. At least we are targeting a penetration of close to 75% also.
So you're saying, you are obviously have the advantage of being in a very dense area, and you're taking on the challenge from going to 55, from 55 to 75. You're willing to put that infrastructure behind. I think the policy and the permissions is one limiting factor, which is
the
coming.
advantage is density. The disadvantage
Is density. Is density and the government's regulation around that then, right?
See, because today if you have to lay a line, when you open you do the trenching, you find 6 other utilities in that. So it's extremely difficult for a place like Mumbai or Thane or, but we're trying to manage. I really feel sometimes that, that's a good startup idea that somebody should pick it up, that whenever a major line is created be a power, be a water, be anything.
Put everything in it.
Yeah, try and do everything in that, So that is something which, because we have to actually see the work going on in the ground and then say, hey, this PWL road is being dug. Why not? It's being dug by Tata Power. Why not you go and ask them for permission to lay our line that time? We have done that. But they're still asking for reinstatement charges, for which they have already taken reinstatement from Tata Power. So, that is, there's need to convince the governments or the statutory body.
So maybe that's a startup idea for Venkatesh as well. Maybe that's where you go next. So Abhilesh, if we can come to you, there is execution challenge, there is permission challenge, but that aside, there is a challenge of switching the customer as well, right? And very price sensitive market, APM allocations gonna come down, APM production will come down, APM allocations will come down. What do you make of that? Do you think it's going to come in the way of us realizing the domestic PNG potential?
Actually, if you look at the support from the government on availability of gas, whatever they can do, they are doing. They have also given us SPST priority allocation as well. But gas remaining a product where the pricing control we cannot do because it's an international commodity. What you can do is optimize your logistic cost, optimize your tax cost. So there is so much of tax optimization which is possible in the entire value chain, as well as the logistic cost which we are incurring. So some of these new GAs, the logistic cost is $6 to $7 per MMBTU, which is equivalent to your gas price. Now you want to acquire a customer, and then the gas is exchanging hand from one person to another person, and there is a VAT. one state VAT, another state VAT, and we are cascading the impact of the taxation. So that nobody is thinking. Whatever is not in our hand, pricing, which is international pricing, we are talking about, but people are not talking what we can do ourselves with respect to logistic cost as well as taxation cost. And if we can tackle these two things, that itself gives you $3 to $4 margin. Ultimately, customer, you will have to price it which attracts him. If we keep on talking about the same situation, customer is not getting attracted. So we have to bring new policies. We have to think as an industry body, how do we remove these bottlenecks? $8 to $10 is the cost of logistics. It's too much. So I think we have to really work on the pricing, not from the point of view of how do we impact the international pricing, but how do we optimize our cost.
So you're saying that customers can come if the pricing is right. The pricing doesn't have to completely be dependent on policy action per se. There are certain policy actions like tax. However, there is an avenue for CGD players themselves to figure out a pathway to deliver gas in a cheaper manner.
So actually, a CGD player will have a very limited role, but there are a lot of intermediaries,
Yes.
right? Those intermediaries have to play a wider role. Today, all these big intermediaries, they are thinking the cake size is one. Nobody, and they all want to have their piece out of it, right? The cake, they don't understand that cake size has to become 10 times bigger for them to earn more money.
Correct.
But everybody is looking at that. This is my domain. I want to charge this, and the gas becoming too expensive during the process. So you cannot have a competition with the alternate fuel. And that is something which we have to really work as an industry to see that the gas share is increasing and the gas
Sure.
delivery cost is reducing.
So the economies of scale
Yes.
kicks in.
Somebody-
Everybody benefits.
People have to take a large
Yeah.
view.
It's not zero sum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Venkatesh, I think in the last 1 year, I had a similar discussion last year in the India Energy Week, and we were looking at $20 spot prices at that point in time. It was the only conversation anybody wanted to have was price, and see how the fortunes have changed. So and it seems like this price outlook, even in the international market, might be here to stay. Now, one, do you believe that the price trend has changed for good? And does that make or bode extremely well for CGD that the transformative age for them is now? How do you feel about that, aiding the growth?
I mean, I am of the opinion that we have learned our lessons. I am of the opinion that we have learned our lessons. We have seen the worst. So we have created a basket of mixed sources, wherein we always keep the pricing average, and most of the gas is being sourced from domestic sources, and whatever is the rest from the imported or the HPHT gas. We have tried to make it a mixed basket and average it out in such a way that no fluctuations are there, because the consumer does not like a fluctuated price. So even the price may be little high, but smooth pricing is always important.
So the
that
stability
is-
of pricing is what you've been able to do.
So that's the mixed sourcing, or a basket of different sources should be the game, and volume game as well.
So I think what I hear you say is, one, that you figured sourcing as an advantage and you're trying to make that so that you can offer as stable a price as you can to your consumers. But if you look at the outlook from here out, where the price regime internationally seems to be soft, do you think this will really allow you to take off?
I mean, it completely depends, but yeah, we are positive on that. Uh, I can tell more.
Sure. So Goutom, I think coming to you, sorry, Sanjay.
I just wanted to add to what Venkatesh is saying. I have slightly different perspective on that
Yes,
pricing, because today if you look at the priority segment, that is CNG and DPNG, we are getting close to 70-75% APM gas, which is in a range bound post the Kirit Parikh committee report of $4 and 6.5. And also the fact that, as Abhilash is saying, that the priority allocation of HPHT, if you bid it and everything else remains the same, we get a priority. These two things put together, at least for next 4 to 5 years, I see a very good price visibility, in which the price will vary in a certain band. So I think we need not to get bogged down by so much of international price volatility as far as RLNG is concerned, because we hardly, very small amount of RLNG will be using for the priority segment. Yes, In industrial commercial, yes, we have to face those headwinds, but for that, as Venkatesh is saying that he has already built a portfolio, or all of us must have built all of us must have built a portfolio for sourcing the iron industrial and commercial volume. But for domestic and CNG, I think price volatility is something which we can put it to rest for at least next 3 to 4 years.
So you're bullish on the prices to stay anyways with the APM allocation at 75 global prices where they are. So
Yeah.
that stability, is your belief that will allow the growth to come.
I feel that for priority segment, almost close to 90% of the gas
Yeah.
will be
Is
coming from the domestic
APM,
sources.
yeah. So Gautam, do you want to know, you spoke about the wide spectrum through GAIL Gas and all the JVs that you have as well. Do you want to talk about 3 or 4 strategic initiatives that you are taking now? You could rest on your laurels, but you have a large role to play as well. What are some initiatives you're taking to spur it further?
Vivek, as far as CGD is concerned, we call it a 3A system, that is accessibility, availability and affordability. There are plenty of gas available for us, only at a cost. And we are building our infrastructure. By 2030, there will be around 0.25 million inch kilometers of the city gas distribution pipeline network will be built. Only the affordability is an issue that we have to address it. So at present for the domestic CNG and PNG, we have to mix around 25% till date. That we have to mix around 25% of the market-driven gas in that. So what we do is that we don't keep all the eggs in the same basket. So there are baskets available. So based on that, our past experience, lesson learned, and our big brothers, means GAIL is there to guide us in this particular issue. So we are managing well. We are we have already, I think, as he has told, that we have crossed that particular time when the market was so bullish, and after that many things has happened in the world geopolitically, but we are stable in this particular year. We thank our government; they have done enough, and they have done enough handholding for us to make it as stable. As far as new initiatives are concerned, PNG is stable now. Now we are going ahead of that. LNG is one of the things that probably all the CGD players are now thinking, and it has to be a big one, because all the long haul trucks and your things are now, you require LNG driven things. Only that we need to push those things because OEMs has to manufacture those engines, trucks and all, and we have to support. And as far as LNG is concerned, those LNGs are available as a market driven prices. So as far as LNG prices are concerned, we can, whatever will happen, but we can sustain that particular price probably. So LNG is one of the things, and another one is the CBG. The government is also pushing, and by 28, 29, everyone has to blend 5% of that
The mandates will come in.
CBG in it. We are already 1%. We have already started, if you consider that. And there are government has a mandate to put many CBG plants. GAIL as a whole, we have to put around 26 CBG plants within 3-4 years. So CBG is one of the things which is carbon negative also. Means if you see that it is net zero, we have to achieve net zero also. Because in CGD we never talks about net zero. It is only for the big companies we generally speak. Because we have very less opportunities available for this purpose for achieving net zero. We generally less pollutant compared to the other industries. So this is one of the factors that CBG blending will be a major boost to this particular area, and it helps also because the cost is also very, very competitive compared to natural gas is concerned. So probably that will be two initiatives. Probably all the CGD players are working on it, and as fast as we do it, it will be better for us.
So I think great to hear that. So you're saying you're doubling down on obviously laying the infrastructure, so adding that pipeline that you need to add. LNG to make sure that there are other consuming sources that will enable your business case. And then CBG as an additional supply that comes in, which again stabilizes the prices, also kind of aligns with the net zero ambitions as well. So other initiatives you're driving. I think, Sandeep, let me come to you. I think one of the very important factors to do all of this is going to be capital, right? So we spoke about, Prime Minister Modi spoke about the fact that we'll need $67 billion to come in to develop this infrastructure. $20 billion needs to come in just to meet the minimum work program of the CGD entities. So when you look at that, and as an entity which is kind of funded by private equity as well, is capital a constraint or a challenge, or you find no challenge in that and adequate takers for providing that capital?
Yeah. So you have rightly said, ninth round onwards, there is a likely.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
So after ninth round till this coming 12th round, it is expected 200,000 crores plus investment to develop CGD network. All companies are going to spend, and some of the private equities fund have also invested. We were the first who brought the private equity in India in ninth round, and it is difficult to sustain the growth or the assumptions which we took while inviting the investment. So it is very important that someone has to look into those areas, what have been promised during the road shows, the consistency of policy, the alignment of state and central policies, even the taxation, whether it is GST or VAT reduction. In addition to that, creating a climate to use the natural gas as the first option to replace the polluted fuels. So we see all these measures, if these are not happening on the ground, there is going to be a serious repercussion for the companies who have invested. Spending money is easy. CGD, if you see, you can divide in two areas. One where you spend money. You create CNG station, you lay pipelines, you put customer with the meter, last mile connectivity done. Other area is that customer uses gas. So that is harder than what we have done till now. Because when you approach customer, he gets various options, unlike the government policies which were announced at the time of bidding, that how they are going to support this sector. We see lot of variance in that. We see some of the states still promoting coal. We see some of the people still say that LPG will continue to be the option, and there is subsidies available in the major cities. Even the gas connectivity is available in the building, but people are given option to use alternate fuels. And so it is not getting aligned to the models, assumptions which have been taken right in the beginning, while each and every company has gone to the bidding. So it is very important that government has to look into that, regulator has to look into that, how to align and create demand. Last 5 years, we are at 6%, fuel mix. Natural gas is continuously 6% of the total fuel mix. There is no growth. Although we talk about 15% in 2025, now 2030, and now I believe the year has been removed. So it is very important that there has to be a sustainable plan which is framed by CGD companies, regulator or the government state government should play their own role. Uh, these are very important issues. Otherwise, this sector is going to be, offended or in trouble times to come, because money will be spent. Everybody's regulator is monitoring how much money I have spent. Okay, how many pipelines, how many customer I have connected. He is not bothered the connected meter with the customer, whether it is drawing gas or not. So something has to change in the ecosystem unless we create the ecosystem where the gas use become more important than the creating infrastructure. I don't think this investment will have a easy time. And we have seen government should learn, in fact, from IGL, MGL, Gujarat Gas. They have spent 25 years to be here what they are today. And we are just less than 5 years, 4 years, and struggling in the new geographical locations without any support. So this is very important, and I would request, that we should have a single voice in this direction.
So I think what I hear you say is that investments can come. In your case, they have come, and I think they've come based on a promise, and the promise was based on assumptions and predicated on how the use will take off. Now, for the money to continue to come, the 20 billion and the 67 billion, you will have to deliver to that promise. And that delivery of that promise will require policy action. It will require change in usage. It will require all sorts of ecosystem to come about for sustained investments, because this will need sustained investments as well. So that's very useful for us to contextualize that it is not free money. It is money that will come if you deliver to the promise and deliver to the business case that has been committed. So Vimal, I think it's interesting. So it's kind of glass half full and glass half empty. The growth is great. It's better than before. We're kind of rejoicing with that. There is a minimum work program. We have seen the past minimum work programs not being honored. And now if we have to do the minimum work program at the same pace as we've done in the past, it'll take 40 plus years to deliver to that. And Sandeep shared, regulator is not allowing us to do that. So what's your view from that standpoint on this happening or not happening? Will the pace change, or will it take 40 years? Or will it go into slump like Sandeep says it can if it don't?
I would again say, and I'm a firm believer in positivity, a staunch believer that the number will happen. Now, question is how and when. The MWP numbers, in fact, I see CNG, it's happening. It's in the path. I believe even before the 8 years, those numbers will happen. PNG is where the challenge is with the CGDs, and a very unknown challenge. There's another perspective, I'm pretty sure all the CGDs understand this, that a PNG customer, a domestic DPNG I would say, is the most loyal of all the customers. By the time we have seen from the till the 9th, 11th round, and in fact, let's say 4 or 5 years back, when the 6% to 15% story was first came in, that time EV was not there, right? Hydrogen was not there. Now we're talking about EV and hydrogen. If I'm looking at the passenger car segment. But once a DPNG customer is connected, he is your customer for one generation and probably all of the coming generation, as long as the house is there. Now, there are efforts that we need help from the regulatory board for sure. We need help from the government and the ministry. I came across a very interesting gazette in the government of Kerala gazette, which talks about RERA approval based on, I mean, you will not get a RERA approval if you don't have a piped gas in this. Now, this is for all new construction. Now, suppose that can be, and we've been trying to take this up with the Ministry of Home and Urban Affairs also. Incidentally, the ministers, Honorable Minister, the same for both the MOP and GNA. If that can come in, then all the new construction at least all the new construction, even if there is no pipe PNG available at that point in time, there can still be a reticulated LPG, which is quite prevalent in the south. Uh, Bangalore is good, Hyderabad is good with reticulated LPG. So you can start with reticulated LPG, and as soon as PNG comes in, if that can be done at the state government level, perfectly fine. But if it can be done at the NERA level, perfectly fine. Now, that's one of the ways of looking at it. Um, how to do it is definitely a challenge when the customer pays. But we have seen the customer, once the customer gets to that comfort level of using a particular product, right? The comfort of piped gas coming in versus the cylinder, right? If I look at, so let's look at demographically. We have around 30 crore households today. We actually also have 30 crore LPG connections. So where will this 12 crores come from, right? That's a question. So it has to replace the LPG bottle in the house. It has got multiple advantages, and we have to we need support from the government to help the CGDs. And there's a point of smart meter adoption. There are things that the CER, the Electricity Regulatory Authority is doing, which probably something that PNGRB can also do. Allow some flexibility for CGD, and the customer will accept. Possibly allow pricing in the billing. You allow the costs to be built in the billing. Allow some pricing flexibilities, right? So that it becomes profitable for the CGs too.
So, no, thanks for sharing that. I think in the 2 rounds we've had so far, I think the themes that I'm hearing is belief, growth story exists, potential is getting realized, pricing is an important aspect, infra needs to get built as well, and stability of policy is the other theme as well. I think we kind of going to run short of time, so I just want to go one last round. And some of the themes you've spoken about, I would love for you to share other thoughts that you may have, incremental to what you've shared previously, on what are the one change that you think needs to be made for it to now take off, right? So we keep on saying that we are pregnant with possibilities, we are at an inflection point. Every consultant says that to everyone. I'm thinking, what is one change that you would love to see for us to really take it from here? We're not talking 15% still, but we're saying what does one change we need? Yes, please, Sanjay.
I'll take liberty of doing it too.
Okay.
So one is obviously bringing the GST, bringing natural gas under GST. That will really help us. And second is, as some of the urban bodies are still under state subject. So the CGD policies what Karnataka or Tamil Nadu or the other states have, if we can be brought on a common platform across the state, I think that will be fantastic for us to create the infrastructure and get the customer in our fold.
Thanks, Sanjay. Abhilesh.
See, apart from what he said, I think important is that whatever policies are framed, those policies should be implemented, right? So policies are all there, that dirty fuel should be taken out, all the diesel-based generators should be switched back to PNG. Wherever pipelines have reached, people have to use the natural gas, but implementation on the ground is lacking.
Sure.
So implementation on the ground is quite important.
Venkatesh, please.
I believe in the optimization in the operational costs and also in the cost of construction also, which will add, in helping all the constraints or the difficulties which may come in the future. And tax optimization also will help.
So it's more built to last, so that
Yeah.
economically, got it.
Because tax optimization will help us whenever we see a shrinkage in the APM allocation. That should be compensated with some kind of optimization, maybe in the form of tax, maybe in the form of volumes, or maybe in the form of cost of construction. So,
Thanks. Gautam, please.
One thing I wish that I can change the mindset of people. Actually, this is there because we are going pillar to post to tell that CNG or PNG is a safer fuel, but still it comes to the cost only because safety is still to be inculcated to the mindset of the people. It is not only the people in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. I am talking about the city people.
Tier 1, yeah.
Still, in my opinion, PNG, CNG is being considered as a urban fuel. So I have not seen in my so many years that there is no agitations because of rise of rate in CNG or PNG. But when there is a rise in petrol price by 10 paisa or 20 paisa, there is a huge agitations or LPG price.
The mindset
increase.
change is
So
important.
unless and until we have that much impact, so you have to increase that load. That base should be such that so that our voice should be heard. So that is
Got
the
it.
thing. Unless and until we have reached that particular point, I think we have to be cautious.
Thanks. Sandeep, please.
Yeah, no, I'll try to repeat the same thing, state and center has to align. We see, the 6% to 50%, it appears to be the target of central government. State has no such number with them, whether in a particular state gas is at certain level and it should go up to this level. And even after 5 years, we see so many states have not gone to announce their CGD policies. And it's a different game, The state is running its own show and we are running our own show, and we are in between. So something need to be done in that direction.
So Vimal, very quickly.
Very quickly, 2 points. Regulatory support on making DPNG easier. And second, I would say belief that DPNG is eventual. It will happen one day. To 2047, India cannot see cylinders. It has to see DPNG everywhere. Thank you.
Thanks. No, I think thanks everyone. I think the belief is amongst all of you. I think there is an optimism. There is no irrational euphoria. I think it is work to be done, business to be built for the returns that a business would generate. I think there is a regulatory intervention for sure, tax being one of the big ones. Execution and assuring execution, aligning the incentives of the state such that they are also monitoring the progress in the same manner and being measured in the same manner is going to be very important as well. So thank you for sharing your inputs. Kind of applause for the panel. Panel, please. Thank you so much.